here's the deal. If you want to do trendy, I want you to do it in one of two ways. I want you to do trendy either in your powder bath, your secondary bathrooms. I want you to drop trendy in somewhere small, because here's the deal about trend. It comes and goes.
Welcome back to Building, Brews, and Barbecue. We're continuing on our series of The House That Wisdom Built. And today we're going to be talking about designing like a pro.
Yep.
Right. And of course, we're going to have our designers on board, but we're going to just take it a step further, kind of the backstory behind design.
Yep.
Besides the aesthetics, we're going to go a little bit deeper. I'm Vince, and I'm here with Nathan, my co-host. And thanks for being with us today, Nathan. Let's go ahead and get started. I know you like funky lime green walls in your home.
That's a lie, but go on.
What do you like? What does design mean in a home nowadays?
Well, what design means in a home nowadays has nothing to do with me as the builder. It's consumer driven, right? If you're asking me, when we build speculative homes or what we like, we're very much right now into earth tone, neutral, stones, just really into that right now. Real clean, easy living. That's what I'm drawn to. But I've also have put funky lime green walls in, and happy to do it. Right? So design to me is so customer driven, and what we push when we have customers looking for us is, hey, it's not about what we do, and it's not about what we want. What do you want? And we want to do that. We want to make that happen. So design to us is how, again, like I've said this all over the pod, how do you want to live in the home? How do you want to live? And we want to be able to make that happen.
Yeah, this is always a tricky subject, right? Because we work with designers on every one of our homes. We see, I feel like the listener might not have the advantage that we do from seeing all of the different successes and failures.
Oh yeah.
And so, excluding that, our listener might not have a designer in their area.
Yeah.
They could be in some little town, or not have the budget for it if they're building a small home. A lot of times these track builders or the large production builders, they basically say, you don't need a designer, come to the showroom, and here's the things you can pick from.
Yeah, that's right.
So what we're trying to do this afternoon, this evening, yesterday, whenever you were listening to this, it'll be your time, is explain to them.
So are we having beers in the morning?
Oh, did that just sneak out?
I don't know. We'll see if the listener will. Is it 10 a.m.? I don't know.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
We shall see.
It is. Nah, we'll see. So based off of that, I want to talk to them, right? I'm kind of excluding this morning. I'm not trying to step on any designer's toes. I think they're far better than what we could do.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk to Mr. and Mrs. homeowner that wants to remodel their home, that is building a small spec home, that is going to pick a production home where they have to go in and just pick what the builder's got. Let's give them some tips this morning on how to maximize that, what to look for, meaning, what areas to prioritize. Number one, they go in there, they sit down. What areas do you prioritize first and foremost?
Kitchen.
Number
one, kitchen is, you've heard it, listeners, you've heard it on this podcast, you've heard it everywhere. The kitchen's the heart of the home. That's where we start. Back when I started this business, my sister had actually never designed a home in her life, but she was extremely creative, and she designed our first few homes and then worked for me for a few years. And that's how I, in essence, taught her. I said, hey, I want you to help me with these homes. Get on Pinterest, find a kitchen you like. And then I will help you know what to go select and how to go select it. But let's start with the kitchen. And that's going to be what the overall feel of this home's going to be, is based off of our kitchen. And that's how I taught her. Now you fast forward 10 years of owning my own business, and obviously our design and our pre-construction, everything we went through has completely changed since then, right? Has completely changed. But taking it down to the simplest terms, start in the kitchen and let what you like in that kitchen kind of reverberate through the house.
Right. So and I think you're right. And so what that, in my mind, you start there and then your mind should go to, like you said, it sets the tone for the
Yes.
rest of the house. So in my humble opinion, I think that tone then becomes, are we doing timeless design or are we doing trendy?
Yep.
Would you agree that those are two big things?
Yes.
All right. I think so too. That's where my mind goes.
Mhm.
And I hope that the listeners, that's where their mind goes when they're planning. Are we doing timeless or are we doing trendy? Give me an example of trendy.
Oh man. So trendy. Well, I'm gonna give you two examples here. So for us, what I ask of people if they want to do so, as I entered into this series of this podcast on this episode, we're into timeless. That's what we like, and I tell our customers, here's the deal: if you want to do trendy, I want you to do it in one of two ways. I want you to do trendy either in your powder bath, your secondary bathrooms. I want you to drop trendy in somewhere small, because here's the deal about trend. It comes and goes. You're going to want to change it. Or I want you to do it in paint colors. I want you to do it in things that you can change. But let's leave some of the elements that are fixtures, like that stay timeless. Okay, so but trendy, what I have seen is definitely pushed much more like what you're talking about, going into production, going to their showroom. They're really going to be pushing the trends. I would tell the customer, look for some timeless aspects
Yeah,
that
that's
last
right.
forever.
And and that's exactly what I wanted to mention is that fact that those production spec builders, track builders,
Yep.
some people know it as, or just what does that mean to the listener? It's, hey, you go into a neighborhood and they have a sales center.
Mhm.
They're selling hundreds of homes.
Mhm.
They probably got 25 that are on the ground that they're going to sell, but you want a custom home or you want to make
Yep.
selections in it. They're going to bring you through and say, here, go work on that computer and see there's 3 faucets on the wall there. Pick one of those. And,
Yep.
and that's what we're talking about. And that's the majority of the country is that way.
That's right.
Okay. And I don't feel like those people should be, I feel like they can still have timeless design.
Mhm.
But when I say you're right about that, is those showrooms, they don't have much wall space
Mhm.
and they've already negotiated the deals. So they have to push out there what's going to get, like a fishing lure, I call it. And the fishing lure is what's trendy today.
Yeah, that's right.
And so they're going to get people that come in that are unknown. They're not getting this type of training and education that go buck against that.
Mhm.
Always side on the side of timeless.
Yeah, always.
And I like what you said there about, that's cool. If you want to do something trendy, do it in an area that's going to change, but
Yeah.
don't do it on your countertop.
No.
Don't do it on your faucet. Don't do it on your vanity. Don't do it on your backsplash. Hey, remember glass tiles?
Glass tile with 4x4 travertines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
baby.
4x4 travertines with glass tile
Inserted.
mosaic
Oh, that
inside
is
it.
so
Oh,
sweet.
yeah, you know
Oh,
when you walk
man.
into one of
Oh
those.
yeah, baby. I know we're tearing it out.
Yeah, we just bought my wife and I just bought a rental that we went in, and that's what was in there, and we ripped it out and put the countertop up the wall. They said, okay, we got to take that out.
Yeah. Did you do one of those glass countertops or what?
Yeah,
did you
so
do with it?
I did a mosaic all glass countertop. Actually, I did like a porcelain 4x4.
Oh, nice. I like that because then all the like the juices from your meats is
It just
in the
goes
grout.
into the grout. Yeah,
Oh, that's such a
yeah,
good
we're
thing.
really into that.
That's such a good thing. I've grown one of the biggest bugs ever with that process. But anyway, but yeah, I think you're right. I think that's the key. And timeless doesn't have to cost a lot,
No.
right? You go to your oh, I got a great question for you. And I've got to ask you before I forget. And that's timeless, you would say, okay, marble's timeless,
Mhm.
right? Right. But the grand question is, what about porcelain that looks like marble?
Mhm. We do a lot of that.
Do you still feel like that's timeless?
I do. I do because of how far they've come. how far they come in. What I actually like about the porcelain is sometimes in design, sometimes it's, hey, we know in this picture this is marble, okay? But we know that we're building for somebody with 4 kids. Hey, you got 4 kids. Here's the deal with marble. What's marble? Soft, right? Well, it gets beat up. It's dirt. Hey, we got a porcelain that looks almost identical to this marble. Let's go this route because now you're going to get the same look, but you're going to have way more durability out of it.
Yeah, and that's what I want to get out there, because it's something that I'm seeing too. Is when the porcelains first started coming out with their marble prints, it was such a repeated pattern.
It was.
You could see it from a mile away,
Mhm.
right? And they still had the little bevel on the edge, and so it looked like a ceramic. But now you're right. They're doing such unbelievable printing because the printing advancements
Yeah, that's right.
on tile has gotten so incredible that it's almost they have so many variations
Yep.
that you don't see that repeating pattern.
That's right.
And the edges are tight so you can get it together closer with a 16th inch joint or an 1/8 inch joint for the grout that makes it look like a real marble. And so I agree. I think you can go timeless and get that look
Yeah.
for not the real marble pricing. And I think that that's critical for our listeners, that there's so much that has come so far, but in such a good way, that these advancements in technology, they always say, we hear this a lot, and are they ever going to find a better way to build a home?
Yeah.
And the answer is probably not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Physically.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do the printing with the concrete, but until those things get super fast and can do custom,
Yeah.
it's not going to be there, right?
That's right.
But where they are making those advancements is in materials.
It is.
And the cost of those materials. That there are timeless designs at an affordable price.
Yep. Agreed.
Right? We talked about high traffic areas, then we went down the road of that. And then cost versus longevity. I think we're touching on that a little bit, that, they're making these things better and cheaper.
Man, and I may detour you a little bit, so don't get mad, or get mad when we're done. Either one. I'm a detour. My thing when it comes to design that I want to inform the customers is, man, make a decision, stick to a decision, and go with it. I tell my customers I wish I could make it a rule, and I'm like, but I tell them, guys, when your design book is done and we're going on, you need to log off of Pinterest and you need to log off of Instagram until we're done with your house. We're done with your house, then log back on. But design and things are moving at such a rapid rate now, right? At such a rapid rate now that you're going to feel like you're behind, and we're still designing your too early.
It's disgusting.
No, it's not that bad.
That beer is flat.
That's fine. Audience don't listen to him. Either way, I have had the most troubles when we won't pick, select, and stay. Finalize and stay. When it's, as we've said before, when it is the disease of TBD, it just makes for such an unbelievably hard process. And who it's the most hard for is the customer.
Yeah. So pick that material, but pick it on the piece that you're not going to be able to change easily. Like you said earlier, pick the counter, pick the cabinet, pick the floor, pick in those colors, and use that as your baseline.
Use it.
Commit.
And
then get rid of that Pinterest.
Get rid of it.
Only focus on the things that are easy to change.
That's right.
Or that you can change once you pull those things together.
That's
the paint color, maybe the hardware that goes on the cabinetry.
That's right.
Your door handles.
Yeah.
Things like that. Yeah, your towel rods and toilet paper holders, things like that. Like, let that then be maybe a little, even you can make those even be a little bit more trendy.
Yep.
But make those tie in to the bigger pieces and parts in that particular room.
Yep.
What I always like to try to tell a homeowner is, if you do want to splurge on something, right? Let's talk about splurging.
Yeah.
I think we know the rest, but what I like to tell them to splurge on is one piece.
Okay.
Like, let's make some of these auxiliary rooms
Mhm.
do timeless looking things at a affordable rate,
Mhm.
the secondaries, things like that. But then let's make something a focal piece.
Mhm.
If you don't have an endless budget,
Mhm.
right? That you walk in the door or your guests walk in the door and there's like bam, that hits you in the face.
Yeah.
Whether that's an expensive fixture,
Mhm.
whether that's doing, we just did a home where you walk in the door and the walls are clad in white oak
Yeah.
with a beautiful stain
Oh, that's
that we
nice.
ripped into strips. Beautiful statement piece.
Yeah.
It's oak, timeless
Yep.
to that era of style of home we were building, which is
Mhm.
kind of that more modern
Yeah.
feel. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I would agree. I'd agree or it's the island, or it's the island top, or it's the way you design the island, or it's the range. We had a run there for a while. We had 3 customers back to back to back that did La Cornuse, and it's a statement, and so, yeah, finding that one piece that, you know, I always differ. I actually find it funny that in home building that we spend money in entries, main entries, when the homeowner never actually enters the main entry. The only people that enter the main entry are guests. So you're really spending that money for guests to arrive. I'm way bigger on spending money in your kitchen, your master bath, or as we call it, the owner's entry, which is the mud room usually. Spend money there. You as the owner coming in the mud room every day. You're rarely going into the entry. So now, if you want the entry to be a certain type of way, happy to do it. But I always I have forever found it funny that we go and we spend all this money in an area that we rarely actually, as the owner of the home, visit or enter.
I think I know the answer to this, but what would you say the number one place your customers splurge on their home?
Kitchen or master bath.
That's 2.
I know, but it's pretty
You think it's
50-50.
50-50? Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Is
do.
there a particular item? Let's drill it down. Is there a particular item in the kitchen that you say that's what they spend the money on?
Countertops.
Countertops.
Mhm. How about you?
Cabinets. Kitchen
Cabinets too.
cabinets.
Yeah, cabinets too.
Well, because it goes with this. If you make that statement piece in the kitchen, and it's something I wanted to talk about, you make the statement piece in your kitchen. If it really jumps out at you, and they're beautiful cabinets, and
Mhm.
that you can actually get away with hardware on it that's not
Oh,
crazy.
oh yeah, you get your normal top knob hardware, put it on, and get away with a really good budget, good hardware, but it doesn't break the bank, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not with the real solid.
Mm.
I mean, because you can spend $2.50 on a knob, or you can spend $22.50, or you can spend $222.50 on a knob.
That's right.
And from a distance, some kind of look the same.
Some look
Now
the
there's
same.
some. I'm not going to defame a lot of these big companies that
Yeah.
make this hard, but it's the difference between a faux brass that looks real
Mhm.
because technology's changed.
That's right.
And the way they make these coatings change to a real physical
Yeah.
brass knob, or in some cases a real physical gold
Yeah.
knob.
Well, and on that note, for our listeners, since we're in design, listen, I only allow, and when I say allow, they can do what they want, but I try to voice my opinion. You can only do brass or unlacquered brass if you're okay with it changing.
A living, that's called a living surface, a living material.
You have to know that these are going to tarnish as you touch them, as your oils get on them. I mean, I had a customer, it's switching a little bit, but when we were going through pre-con, was like, they loved this house up the street that we did a schmear on, schmeared the mortar on. Well, as we're going through pre-con, I just got to understand this customer more, and they were very dialed in on everything. They're very like, we want things to be a certain way. And I had to explain to them a schmear is art, not a science. And I pretty much told them, I can't duplicate that house. I can do that process again. I can't promise you it'll look like that. I don't think I want to do a schmear on your house because I'm worried that it won't look a certain way. And that's the same way with brass. Like, hey, do you want this brass to change over time or do you like this? Oh, well, we like this. Okay, well, let's get the one that looks like brass. Save you money and it'll stay looking like this.
So that's interesting. You say schmear, and I'm not sure our listeners know what that is because you say schmear, and I immediately think I'm going to my bagel place.
Yeah, to get like
And to
some,
get us
some
something-
cream cheese.
A schmear. So what is the difference between what I love to eat and what I'm not eating your house? And if I did, I should be arrested.
Yeah. So what we call it is look, I feel like construction terms are made up, but what we're calling a schmear is we're pressing the bricks down. We're getting them, we're putting our mortar in, and the mortar then is oozing out of the bricks. A lot of the times what you're doing, a lot of the times what we're doing in brick is we're doing one of two things or both things. We're knocking off the mortar and then tool jointing it, or we're just knocking off the mortar and leaving it rough. What we're doing in this situation is we're overstacking it, mortar spewing out everywhere, and then we're rubbing that mortar over the brick.
Oh, nice.
And so what it does is for us is why we do it is when we're looking for a more like European style home, we want the brick that we have to look old. We want it to almost look like weathered concrete, if you will. It's why we're doing it. But like I said, it's an art. And what's funny is people love this house in one of our neighborhoods, but it was a spec house. But if you actually look at it, you can look and you can see where we stopped on certain days. You can see hard lines in it where it's lighter below, darker above. The guy below was going left. The guy above was going right, and so you can see it. But what's funny is nobody really notices it because it was a spec house and it was done. And they're like, oh, wow, that's pretty. But you start doing a custom build. Oh, no, you can't. Well, no, the part of the smear is it's supposed to look old. The lines, the different, that's the whole point of it. So we just like to be very clear sometimes with the difference between art and science.
Interesting. Is that expensive?
It is. In my opinion, it shouldn't be. They're just doing a little more.
But it's got to be
But
cheaper to do it while they're doing it
It's way cheaper.
instead of like having another coating applied later.
Correct.
Like a schmear applied to a finished surface.
Yes.
Because that's the way we have to do it. We get a different contractor in. Like we'll have our brick guy do the brick.
Yep.
And if we're going to do something over it, a marmalina finish, an Italian plaster, or a lime finish, a slake, these are all versions of schmears, I guess. And, we have them do their work, rub the joints flush. Then we have to have our plaster stucco company come in and do it. And so it's two different contractors, two different sets of scaffolding. So I was just wondering if that's cheaper because
it's cheaper.
Are those things, is that a way to get the bigger bang for your buck and save on those basics?
It is because you're getting it's like because you're right. If we wanted to do a lime wash or something like that, we're bringing in a different trade. Doing it this way gives a textured look, an older look, but it's one trade. It's the mason who's out there already bricking the house.
Gotcha. So that's the big thing is I would say from a design standpoint, when a homeowner's thinking about design, think about those things that are going to get you a bigger bang for your buck if you're needing to save money or may have a wow factor, we call it. And that's what trade that's going to already be there could do that one extra step while they're all set up, while they're doing the work to get that wow factor.
That's right.
And it might be cost effective instead of multiple trades.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. That's a great, we could finish it right there. But you had mentioned in a different episode that I remembered, which I'm surprised because I don't remember anything, the use of combination of metals. Different materials that you're seeing now. Do you think, it's where you have maybe a plumbing fixture that's brass, but your lights are a different color in the same room?
Yes.
Or you have door handles that are one color and hinges, and then your fixture on your sink is a different color.
And your cabinet hardware is different. Sometimes I'm seeing 3-4 colors.
Is that timeless or trendy? In your opinion?
It feels trendy.
You don't think it's going to last?
I don't know.
I feel like somebody was messed up a design at one point and said, and
Well,
and everything got ordered and it shipped to the site and they just didn't have the money to change it. And somehow someone convinced someone else that that's the new trend. Look at it.
Well, what it
Do you
feels
love it, Margaret?
what trends look like to me, what trends feel like to me is these designers. Your market's ahead of ours usually, but designers are becoming popular in our market too. And it feels like they just always gotta like designers who we love, but it's like, well, we can't do the same thing twice. Well, why not? No, we just can't. We always gotta be pushing the envelope. Okay, well, you know what? Matching's too easy. No, we gotta make things different. You can mix metals now, which I don't know. It feels trendy. It feels trendy to me, and it may not last. But man, we do a lot of it, and on the build side, we love doing it. It looks well, but man, it's annoying sometimes because like sometimes you're just like, can't this all match?
Yeah. And that's, and I think I would probably start to think about leaving the listeners with this, and that's you're going to get designers and design features across the country in magazines.
Mhm.
They're always trying to push the envelope.
Always.
Listen, this is the me culture, right? And us builders do it. Everybody does it. We all do it. We all have social media. Everybody wants to be noticed. Actually, that's why we're doing this podcast, so people will notice
Yeah.
what we have to offer.
That's right.
But I would say the designers a lot of times they need to be different.
Mhm.
It's the next thing. They need to be pioneers. They need to be out there with new trends. Magazines
Yeah.
need to get better sales
Yep.
off the shelf. And so they want to push different things to be I need to go get that magazine to see that new trend.
That's right.
Right. And I don't think that's timeless. I think
Yeah.
that, and I give whoever asks, because I like to talk,
Mhm.
the thing is, go back, one, listen to your gut.
Mhm.
Is what you're seeing now make sense to your head?
Right.
Two, go back and look at old timeless things. There's buildings in history you can go back and look at that are timeless. Your marbles, things like
Mhm.
that. Go back and look at old cool magazines. We have Google. We have anything you need to go
Mhm.
bring up old things that you see that trend,
Yep.
and then you see that. Use your guide.
Yep.
Use your gut as your guide. Do your research, and then sometimes buck what you're seeing
Yeah.
out there, because it may look cool, like we see in the spec home
Mhm.
showrooms and
Mhm.
design centers, but are they just doing it to capture you? And it's going to change,
Right.
because they want to sell the next home. The designer wants to get that next
Yeah.
customer,
That's right.
and that magazine wants to sell that next round of subscriptions.
Yep.
And so I think that that's one big tip that I give them. In anything you do, trust but verify.
Yep.
Trust that what they're doing, what they're saying is good, but verify it by doing your research.
Yep. Be trendy. Be trendy. I'll leave our customers on this note. Be trendy in the powder or the secondary bathroom, right? Be trendy because look, I remember we went on this little run a couple years ago putting in green tile, right? And I thought it was awesome. But I wouldn't want green tile in my master shower. I wouldn't want to see it every day. But like if I pop into like my kids, like to grab my kids or something, and that green tile's cool. Right? Something like that. That's where if you want to push the envelope a little bit, put it somewhere that like you're not looking at every day.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think this has been good. I hope we've given our listeners something to really think about and to drive deeper. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe to our channel. You can find us on YouTube and all the podcast channels. We really appreciate it. If you could give us any feedback,
Yeah,
for
5-star
upcoming
review.
episodes, a 5-star review would really help out a lot.
Even if it was a 1-star listen, give us a 5-star review.
That's right. Yep. Because we're timeless. We're not trendy. We're timeless. But thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode in our series, the house that wisdom built, and where we'll start bringing this plane into a landing on the pre-construction side.
That's right.
Then we'll move into construction. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.